This is Quantum Flow Radio, organizing thought particles into a flow of collective consciousness.
Here we are again.
We are here again.
I love this because you and I have an opportunity to sit down and actually record the stuff that we're fascinated with.
You're recording this? I never knew that.
Yeah, it's just, I probably
telling me
shouldn't
that.
have told you. Yeah, but it's you and I are fascinated with this, and so many times we've sat down over the course of time, and we've said, "Boy, wouldn't it have been great if we recorded that?" So these shows give us an opportunity to do that, to talk about these things that we are obsessed with.
Right. Touchy subjects.
Touchy at times.
That relate to us, human consciousness, the world, spirituality.
Yep.
But some of these subjects are very real.
Yeah.
And very controversial.
At times.
Right.
Definitely. Especially now, the way things
everything is. Yeah.
Yeah, laundry detergent is controversial now.
So you're really stringing this out. You're hesitating what the subject is today.
I guess I'm putting it off because
you are.
There's so much to talk about with this topic.
It's big.
It's ginormous.
It's ginormous.
It's
humongous.
It's its own country, in fact.
Yes, it's its own little city-state and everything else. So I guess that narrows it down to three things.
Yeah. So
we're going to narrow it down to one.
The one that's in Italy.
Ah, Italiano.
Yeah, that one. The one guarded by the Swiss Guard.
Yeah, you mean the one that has like a wall around it?
That one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's Vatican Day here at Quantum Flow Radio.
Right. So we're going to talk about the Vatican, the Pope, and all that is encompassing.
Yes, because as we know, if anyone can, the Vatican.
The Vatican.
So
that's a good one.
And it's such a huge topic. I keep saying that because there's so much connected to it.
Right.
There's money. There's power.
You're not suggesting it's an octopus, are you? Okay. Cricket.
So money, power, religion, spirituality, gold,
power, knowledge,
movies, Hollywood stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
So
I'm going to have you start this whole thing.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah,
well, you know what what we'll do is, as we always do, we try to present these topics kind of in an impartial way, so that way in our presentation we're not putting our own bias on this. But and there's a big but today.
Yep.
I think we're going to go a little bit further on this because much evidence leads that there's a lot of stuff going on. Not necessarily good stuff in the Vatican, but we're still going to try to be fair and impartial, and we'll start off with just some general facts that cannot be disputed. Like, it's on 110 acres, right? Mm-hmm. It is surrounded by this wall. It has a population. I mean, this is considered a city-state. It's literally a country unto itself.
Yes.
It prints its own money. It has its own police force. It has a population of about 1,000.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen
its own post office,
and it changes by the day. Yeah, and it has everything. In fact, they even issue their own license plates. Although there's I hear nowhere to park.
Yeah,
okay.
Could be a problem.
Well, the Pope has a couple vehicles. He's got the Pope Mobile.
Yeah, the Pope Mobile.
I mean, that's famous. It's like the Batmobile. It's a Pope Mobile.
Yeah, and now with all the glass,
I haven't seen Mattel make a model car off of it for Hot Wheels.
No, I haven't either.
But nevertheless, I mean, it's unique. Nothing else quite like it. It is in Rome, Italy, and it's up on a hill.
Yes.
And
Capitoline Hill. Right.
And it's beautiful. It's literally the word Vatican.
Yes.
It's I think it's an Etruscan type settlement, but the word Vatican can be Vatica.
Yes.
Which translates to garden.
Yes.
Did you know that?
Yes. And
well, you know everything.
Vaticanus, I think, is the other.
That sounds Latin.
Yeah.
Did you ever take Latin?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I did take French. I took Spanish. I took I fluent in Greek.
I took 4 years of Latin, so that's why I am. That's why I am like I am. Nowadays.
I think that there's one of the actual transliterations, not translations, but transliterations, is also Hill of the Serpent. I've heard that,
and that's very telling because we're going to get into some things that correlate to that.
Yep.
But the Vatican has been around a long time. There's been many, many, many popes. But we're going to throw this date out as an important date. It's the 11th of February, 1929. And through the Lateran Treaty, it became a modern city-state. It actually, so it was kind of, let's just say it was incorporated.
Yeah. Was
so
that the date
it is a corporation.
Yeah. Was that the date for Vatican II? Is that?
Yeah, I think, I guess you could say that. Yeah. Again, I've never personally been there.
Right.
And
I can't wait to go.
Sure.
It is magnificent.
Do you have your invitation?
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
probably won't get one after
don't
this
hold
show,
your breath, especially after this show. But the neat thing is, the Pope is like, he's the guy. I don't ever remember a Pope being a woman. Maybe one day we'll see that, right? That'd be refreshing. I don't know if they can do that or not, but
although there are stories that that mention there was a female Pope who was dressed as a man who served for a bit.
I've heard that in Kings.
Yeah,
but
yeah. Well, it's the robe thing, I think.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, you could get away with it back then.
Yeah.
If you see a guy wearing a robe now, you just go, okay, well maybe. But back then everyone wore them.
Exactly.
Very comfortable.
So comfortable.
Oh gosh. Especially if it's
should have worn mine today. Yeah. But yeah.
No comment.
So obviously, yeah. So obviously, it's a patriarchal organization.
Right. And the interesting here is that the Pope, obviously, he kind of rules over this land or this city-state or this country, and he has control over everybody.
Yes.
But there's also, not many people know this, there's the king. There's a king, too, of the Vatican City.
All right.
Do you know who that might be?
No, you got me on that one.
Also the Pope.
Really? So he is a
Right.
king as well.
He's a king as well. And so this is where really the Pope and the king as one has it's a dictatorship. It's an autonomy.
Autonomy, yeah.
And that's why it can't really be part of the UN. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is a dictatorship.
Yeah.
But it's almost as if you become a citizen of the city-state if you work for the Pope. So many jobs for the Pope. I mean, you could be, part of the church there, but also they have
the entourage.
Yeah, but they have people who cook food and
wash the two cars.
Wash the two cars, and they had to have somebody make the license plates. I mean, I don't know unless there's a prison there. So the fact is,
there is a wall.
Well, it's kind of a prison already. Hello, but the interesting thing here is he has complete rule over everybody. So if he doesn't like you and he doesn't like the way you're washing his car,
you're out.
You're fired, and you've lost your citizenship.
Yeah.
Bam, like all in one.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Outside, back over the other side of the wall.
Yeah, they throw you over.
Yeah.
Well, they used to have a catapult, but it broke.
It's the Humpty
Too many
Dumpty
people
thing,
were
isn't
being
it?
shoved off the thing.
We're
We got to get serious here at some point.
Yeah,
But no, we use a lot of levity in this show because there is some serious stuff that's going on.
Yeah, and we have to throw some humor at it.
On it, at it,
yeah,
with it.
It's almost like people always say, "Well, you got to fight fire with fire," but no,
Right.
you don't fight fire with fire. You fight fire with water,
Or love.
or
Well,
love.
Although you might get burned.
Yeah, you might be.
Yeah,
but
water's a good
so
idea.
these subjects, particularly the touchy ones,
Yeah.
that we go after, we try
Because
to
there's
keep
a lot
little
of-
lightheart about it.
There's a lot of Catholic and Christians out there that very much think that this is
The seat of God on earth.
Yeah. It's actually almost a stepping stone or a portal to God Himself and Jesus.
Yep.
And you may think twice, after a few things that we go over. But I have a few more little things, and then I'm going to throw it back to you.
Sure.
Okay. So there are 3 city-states. It's very interesting. We've covered this a little bit before, but I just thought I'd mention this. The fact is that the Vatican is not just completely unique. Washington, D.C. is a little bit different, but it's not surrounded by a wall, not yet. But these are they're incorporated areas, but they don't go along with anything else. They're completely unto themselves, taxes and otherwise, and they have their own governments.
Their own governments, their own constitutions.
Right. Exactly.
Their own declarations, everything.
So you have the Vatican, you have Washington, D.C., and the last one
Which one might that one be?
Oh, that'd be in England.
Right.
So we
London.
have the financial district, which is,
The crown.
some people call, the Rothschilds. I'm not sure how much power they still have anymore, but at any rate, this name always conjures up. And there's relationships between the Rothschilds and the financial district and the Vatican, and also Washington, D.C.
Absolutely.
Because they all kind of control consciousness in a certain way, the Vatican being the religious state, spirituality.
The ecumenical power of the earth.
Yeah, the financial district, obviously money, and
Washington, D.C. is military.
Military, but political. And also, I would say it's becoming part of the social media aspect of everything. But moving on, there's two different popes. There's the Black Pope.
Yeah. White hat, black hat.
Right, which is the Society of Jesus, which is the Jesuits.
Yes.
And then there's the White Pope.
Yeah.
I don't know how they came up with this, but the White Pope is the Supreme Pontiff. And, of course, now is Pope Francis. He is a Jesuit, ironically, and he's the first non-European pope in a long time. He's from Argentina. He hails from Argentina.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really much known about him before he became pope. So that's kind of suspicious, and we'll kind of drill down on that a little bit too.
Yep.
But the only other fact that I'll throw out before I hand it back to you is the first pope was a Jew. Isn't that interesting?
That's very interesting.
Yeah, and a lot of people know that. And it took a lot to, and I'm going back to 1 AD, okay?
Yeah.
But this is what's written. So just thought I'd throw that out.
Yeah.
Because, Jesus quite possibly was a Hebrew.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to you, man.
Good
Good luck.
Me, man.
You can do all the other.
Well, the other part of all this, since we're going back in time, prior to think Huey Lewis.
Yes. Yeah.
So back to those days.
Met those guys.
Great band.
Back in the day. Back in the day.
Band, yeah. So back in the time of the start of all of this, Vatican, the location of the Vatican was at one time a Mithraic temple for Mithra and the worship of Mithra. And the story of Mithra, and Jesus are very similar. And in fact, we won't do that this show, but there's so many people, sages, hierophants that followed the same path and had the same story to tell through the years.
Yes, coincidence or synchronicity or
right,
what? Yeah,
right.
so
Call
that's
it
a question.
Whatever you will.
Right.
But however it is, the Vatican today rules over 2 billion people in its religious power.
No doubt.
And in its financial power is probably the greatest financial power in the world.
But we don't know because it's hidden.
They don't have to tell
and they've
us.
never been audited.
Right.
Because they're just so
Right.
out there. They don't.
And it's real
answer
power.
to anybody.
It's gold. It's bullion.
Well, hidden treasures. We have no idea what's there.
None at
but
all.
I don't think they have a stack of 100 Benjamins laying around. I think, that, like you said, it's real wealth.
Yeah.
And real wealth to the elite could quite possibly something out of the central banking type system.
Exactly.
So, and that would be gold and silver, because what else through time has really, been valuable?
And real estate holdings.
Well, of course.
Their real estate holdings are the greatest in the world.
Well,
inclusive of England,
right,
and Australia, and so many other territories that are run under the crown.
They kind of have a hidden hand behind a lot of things.
Yes.
Remember, they've been around forever.
Yep.
So.
Forever and ever and ever. And you touched briefly on the Rothschilds. Okay. You have Britain, France, USA. Their investments are with giant oil and weapons corporations. Okay. Like Shell, General Electric,
BP.
BP. The Vatican solid gold bullion is worth billions, and it is stored with the Rothschild-controlled Bank of England and the U.S. Federal Reserve Bank.
Yeah, and so see the connection there.
Yes.
And this goes back hundreds of years, and then some of it even further.
Yeah, thousands of years.
Yeah.
So the Catholic Church, biggest financial power, wealth accumulator, and property owner in existence. Okay? When you look at the mass power they have, it's more material wealth than any bank, corporation, giant trust, or government anywhere on the globe. And the Pope, who is the visible ruler of this colossal global wealth, is considered to be one of the richest men on earth.
Right. Now, people listening might say, okay, well, where's your proof? Like, so.
Yeah, well, it's not really about proof.
Well, again,
it's about research. It's about talking.
Some of this is speculation, maybe on our part, but it is based on hard research, facts that have been, accumulated.
From reliable sources.
Yeah, from reliable sources as best we can. I mean, there is a lot of fake news out there. But with that being said, it's not a very open door policy. So some of this is speculation, but you think how long they've existed and what they've done, and some things that have trickled into, public knowledge gives us evidence that this is the case. That there's wealth there beyond anyone's knowledge. Just could be trillions and trillions of net worth of money. Yeah. And especially real estate holdings, as you mentioned. Yeah. And a lot of this holdings are not like you go up and you look at the title of this property, it doesn't say the Vatican. Okay. No. So exactly. It's hidden through
and when you look at when you touch more on the empire of the city,
right.
You look at, like, for example, the District of Columbia, Washington, D.C. The District of Columbia, under its own empowering power plant, I guess,
right.
of people and money and police and government and everything else. I look at that, and you look at the financial district in London, okay, and how all this comes together with the Vatican. They're in London, where the Crown Temple essentially runs everything. When I say crown, I'm not really talking about, the royal crown. I'm talking about, the money crown, where the power is.
Right.
This is a square mile in London. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a square mile. It houses the Rothschild-controlled Bank of England, Lloyd's of London, the London Stock Exchange, all British banks, the branch offices of 385 foreign banks, and 70 U.S. banks.
Right.
All within one square mile.
I hear parking there is a little tight, too.
It's a little tight, yeah.
You need like a Mercedes Maybach to even get a space or something like that.
Convertible, yeah. And I think the parking meters only take like gold.
Yeah, gold sovereigns and stuff like that,
Exactly. So when you
That'll
look
cost
at
you $1,200
an hour.
Oh, an hour.
An hour, yeah. And so when you look at all of the stuff that goes on in these places, and the power of the crown, and the power that was granted to the Vatican by the King of England so long ago, that essentially they have all the power in the world, period. Right. Not just over the churches, not just over the followers of Catholicism, but over everything.
Right. Well, through money manipulation, you can control masses of people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're talking
about
you
control flow of everything, trade.
Sure.
And you can affect just about any aspect of people's life.
Yeah, and you're looking at the Warburgs, the Oppenheimers, the Schiffs, the Rothschilds, all these money names,
right?
Okay,
yeah,
are all directly tied.
Well, that's all Jekyll Island, and that's all Federal Reserve. But
exactly.
That's not this show. But note the ties.
Exactly.
Here.
Exactly. So now, like the city-state of London, I do have some notes here because I can't just rattle it all off.
Oh, I thought you were just brilliantly
and the Vatican, a third city-state, obviously. The Constitution of America, it's the first act of the Constitution of America in 1790. That city-state District of Columbia is 10 square miles of land in the heart of Washington. So we know that is a direct. When you look at, for example, the Vatican has Capitoline Hill.
Right.
And there are 7 hills there. The District of Columbia is Capitol Hill, and there are 7 hills. You have the Tiber River in Rome, and in D.C. you have Tiber Creek.
Right.
The current reigning pope is Francis. The original land purchased to build the U.S. Capitol was purchased by a man named Francis Pope. Okay?
Interesting.
I mean, these connections are not coincidental.
Do you know what the Washington, D.C. flag looks like?
The 3 stars?
Yeah, there's 3 stars.
The 3 city
stars,
states.
3 city states.
Yeah.
So, that just shows you America was set up with purpose.
Absolute purpose.
America,
Yeah.
United States.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It didn't just happenstance. There was specific powers that brought people here and knew what was here, and they've taken over.
Exactly. And the District of Columbia, with its own constitution, operates under a Roman law known as Lex Fori. Okay? It bears no resemblance to the U.S. Constitution. It was created and became ultimately a corporation.
Right.
Which ultimately led to the Virginia Company and so many other things that we've talked about in past shows, and we'll probably talk about more specifically in future shows.
Right.
But this,
because it's damn interesting.
yes, it is. And in reality, it's quite possible that we are still under the British Crown.
Which that jeweled crown encompasses the Vatican,
all of it,
the financial district, and then also, the more modern setting up in the Western civilization, which is D.C.
Yeah. So this
and that's
independence,
why,
this independence that we think we have
right.
from the mother country,
and that's
it
why
really isn't.
That's quite possibly why many people are not happy about the wrecking ball that's come in.
Right.
Trump.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about him much. We've already talked about Trump, but a lot of people find what he's doing is very refreshing because he's going against these trends that have been going on for 100 years, hundreds of years, and a lot of people are crying, "Oh my God, it's just ruining everything." But let's discuss some of the things more specifically that the power or the negativeness that this Vatican just kind of spews out onto us, because some people will tell you very clearly that the Vatican is Satan's playground, and you go, what?
Yeah.
I mean, hello?
Yeah.
But quite possibly, we have all been deceived a little bit here.
Yeah, and what is Satan? In the grand scheme of things, the word itself means opposer. Mm-hmm. So it's the opposition.
Well, you say opposer. I've seen it accuser.
Accuser.
Yeah. Okay.
Accuser of the brethren.
Right.
Is another way of looking at it. The original word in the Hebrew is chasatan.
Yeah.
So when you look at that,
but that's assassin. I thought that was.
Well, we've attempted to meaning following the churches,
right,
have anthropomorphized words and meanings, and the ancient Hebrews were brilliant when it came to assigning words and symbols to so many different things because they told a story.
Right. Now, I didn't mean to cut you short. Is there anything else before
I just wanted to
this?
I just wanted to mention that that the whole thing that we were talking about with the Vatican and the city-states and London and all of that stuff was that along with being the greatest accumulator of wealth and all that stuff, and what we talked about with DC and the USA and the Virginia Company having basically taken over all land, all ownership of the land of what we now call the United States. This Virginia Company, which is basically the British Crown and the bloodline families, had rights to 50% of all the gold and silver mined here on the lands, right? Mm-hmm. So here's the thing. Pay close attention. The original organic American Constitution read, "The Constitution for the United States of America." The altered version reads, "The Constitution of the United States of America." Well, you may not think that that's a huge deal, but in essence, when Americans have Social Security numbers, which we do, we are agreeing to give up our sovereignty. And in order in doing that, the Virginia Company of the British Crown has us to pay their debts.
We're chattel.
Yeah.
And they want you to make as much money and pay as much taxes during your lifetime to pay this back, this debt.
Right.
And the debt just increasing because there's no way to repay it because it's based all on printing more money. It's a Ponzi scheme because you cannot repay debt by printing the same money that's based on debt.
Right. And so the fascinating thing about all of this from a financial standpoint, and we'll go into a whole bunch of other stuff here in a second, but from a financial standpoint, the Vatican has more money than God, literally.
And you'd think that with all that money, they would be more benevolent.
Yes.
I mean, they have these stories, and you go to 60 Minutes, and the Pope is going around the world doing all this wonderful humanitarian work. Well, just open up the safe a little bit if you really want to help some people out.
Exactly. So you
But
see this big,
that
huge
never happens.
earthquake, and the Vatican donates $1 million worth of supplies. That's a ring, okay, on the Pope's finger.
I never even heard about that.
I think I heard about it once.
Okay, yeah.
So
I think they depend on the UN and other people to
right,
to
of course,
all that.
which they own too. So they're all branches
peripherally,
of the same tree.
it's yeah.
So going back to some of the other stuff, we've already hit the financial thing. We know and we are within reasonably sure that this information can be found to be
we found it.
to be truthful
Yeah.
and to be very real, if not in its entirety, at least a good portion of it.
Right.
There's no denying the wealth of the Catholic Church through the Vatican.
Right.
And there's no denying the wealth in London
Right.
and its power through money. And there's no denying the military and political power of Washington, D.C. I mean, those are just facts. We can't really make that stuff up.
Right.
So moving on a little bit further into the ecclesiastical power of the Vatican and the religious power of what they represent there. It is, first of all, in all fairness, it is a magnificent place. The statuary by Bernini, the architecture, just the actual visual stimulation that one can get from being there. We know this just by, even if you've never been there, you've watched, Angels and Demons, and you've watched the Da Vinci Code and all these movies that are on location in some of those areas. And it's absolutely beautiful. So
so it's beautiful. I think you're delaying because I just want to get right to the meat of some of this stuff.
Okay, go for it.
Well, I mean,
I just wanted to sort of reiterate that we are in awe in the presence
it's
this power.
It's all fluffed up.
Yeah, it's like Oz.
Yeah.
So you get to the Emerald City and you just go, wow.
Yeah.
Look at all that.
But then when
There's
you
a guy
find out
behind the curtain.
Yeah, it's a guy behind the curtain.
Yeah.
With some levers.
Exactly.
It may not be too dissimilar.
No.
In reality.
No, not at all. So go ahead, take us into our next our next hill.
This is where I'll make some enemies, but I'm just going to kind of go right there because, as I said before, to get back, some believe this is Satan's playground because there's just no monitoring or accountability, and I'll have specific examples of that. But there is. I'm just going to throw some stuff out.
Sure.
What's with the upside down crosses?
Yeah.
I mean, so you see the pontiff and some of these, high monsignors and cardinals wearing upside down crosses.
And it's actually on the back of the Pope's chair.
On the back of yeah. Which is, a chair has much symbolism.
Yes.
I mean, it is the chair. They regard this as like a throne.
Yeah. Universities have the chair. I mean,
but no, this is a chair above all other chairs.
Yes.
I mean, they even have a name for it. It's like a special name that he calls it. You know.
Yeah.
The
throne.
If you look at
per se,
if you just look at what they wear.
Yeah.
What's with the red and black robes?
Yeah, and the fish hat.
Yeah, the fish hat. Just it's all
symbolism.
Well, it's all very pomp and circumstance, and very ritualistic.
Yes.
And any of those, if you have a relationship with God, this is just my thought. Maybe I'm off, but I don't think you need all of that to have a relationship with God. God's right here, right now with you. It's inside me, you, everyone, and we have this connectivity. Yeah. And do you need all this, hoopla? The hats and the robes and it's just like, and when I was growing up, my best friend was Catholic.
Yeah.
And hey, I went with him once in a while,
Mm-hmm.
and you sit there in the service, and it's just it's just almost kind of creepy. I'm sorry,
it's pomp and circumstance.
Yeah, but
it's theatrical.
It wasn't. It didn't give me a warm, loving feeling. It was just almost kind of cold and like, okay, You got to do this. Stand there. You know, we're going to do this and this. And it's like I said, it's very ritualistic. And you know, if you really follow back rituals, it's kind of a pagan thing. And
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, this is all kind of pagan.
Yeah.
Okay, now we're going to really hit it hard because
Sure.
Much proof has shown that pedophilia is pervasive, not only in the Vatican, but throughout the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm sorry. That's a fact.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And for instance, here's an example. This guy, and this harkens back to Washington, D.C.
Sure.
Cardinal McCarrick from Washington, D.C. He was charged with sexual misconduct.
Yeah.
So, and we're talking sexual misconduct of small children, specifically boys.
For a very long time.
Right. And again, we've covered briefly this in a show many, many moons ago, but this is pervasive everywhere. And it's something that's being fought right now. But the Catholic Church has been caught with their hand in the cookie jar, not once, not twice, thousands of times. And the cover-up, the trying to hide this, it's off the charts.
Yeah.
And so that kind of brings me to some, you know, we're going to go back in a little bit of history, but you've heard of Pope John Paul?
Yes.
One. Okay.
Not two.
So, no, not one. There was a two. He was there for, okay, but Pope John Paul I came in. Basically, they are elected. Yeah. But once they are elected, they're there for life unless they choose
to step down.
Yeah. Guess how many days Pope John Paul was in power? I'm putting you on the spot.
666 days?
No, 33 days.
33 days. Okay.
Yeah, so 30, mocking 33 here. Yeah. It's the inversion that you see. Yeah. Oddly, they say he just died.
Yeah.
But we don't have, I mean, I guess there's a hospital there or whatever, but we have no idea.
And they're not going to tell you.
They killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got 66 miles of shelving in the Vatican archives.
Yeah, and we're going to get to everything that's in the library and in the archives, but let's just finish up with this brief little history.
Yep.
You know, after he's gone, obviously they didn't like him, right?
Right.
John Paul II comes in.
That was a poison thing, wasn't it?
I
seem to think it was a poison thing.
I don't know, but there's many. I'm sure there's lots of different ways that they could have done that. Yeah. Then there was John Paul II, who was there for about 25 years. I mean, he seemed like a pretty decent pope. Of course, we don't know.
No,
we don't know what's going on. But then we can deduce that there was some nefarious stuff going on.
But
after John Paul.
Just real quick on John Paul II, though, the interesting thing is, I think it was 2003, maybe it was 2001. John Paul II actually stepped forth publicly, internationally, and apologized for the atrocities of the Roman Catholic Church throughout the course of history.
Sometimes I pick up on people's vibration, even if I'm not in the same room.
Yeah.
Just my gut feeling. Obviously, John Paul I probably was a good guy.
Yeah.
And they didn't, I mean, if he was in power and then he saw something or was, you know, he saw something that he was unaware of that was going on and he wasn't supposed to see it, they had to get rid of him. So I think John Paul II, John Paul II, I believe, was a good soul. I believe that, you know, he did what he was supposed to do. But then you go back even, I mean, there's always been kind of, you know, behavior. I mean, some popes have had some alternate behavior. I mean, there was a pope, I think his name was, what was the guy during the World War II? Pius.
Pius. Yes.
He was gay.
Yes.
So what?
Yeah.
But the thing is that, you know, if you look, a lot of the teachings and stuff through the Catholic Church tell you that this is wrong.
Right.
Yet he was gay.
Right.
So kind of fast forwarding,
which is fine, but it's in direct opposition.
It's in direct opposition of the foundation of what they're espousing and teaching.
Right.
So here's another interesting thing.
Yeah.
So Pope Benedict, which is the Ratzinger guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was after John Paul.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how long he was there for, but it was a shorter time period.
Yeah. Too long.
So here, Well, yeah. I can't tell you. I cannot read him. I don't know if he was good or bad.
Yeah.
You know, what his agenda was. But
He did
here's the
have
interesting thing.
that whole Nazi background thing.
Not many people will know this, but if you research real hard, there's a 300-page red binder dossier that was handed to this guy, Pope Benedict.
Mm-hmm.
And it had many, many truths in this dossier, kind of because I think maybe whether he was on the good side or the bad side, but I think that this report was supposed to be brought to his attention, and this is right in the prime part of where there was a lot of cardinals and monsignors and priests that were getting caught doing things,
right?
You know, with children and stuff.
Yep.
So I think maybe he saw this report and had shit a brick, so to speak, and said maybe I can't, I probably can't handle this. I don't know what happened, but the strange thing is, he was the first pope in like hundreds and hundreds of years that just decided, okay, I'm done. I quit.
Yeah.
And then in comes Francis, who we talked about, George Bergoglio. That's his real name, and things probably have not gotten any better under him. And I think he was kind of the stopgap. He was put in for a reason.
People seem to like him a lot.
They really do.
A lot more than they did Ratzinger.
Yeah, well, Ratzinger, I think, was a kind of a cold guy. I mean, his background was German.
Yeah.
And I just think that, you know, it just...
He also looked like the Dark Lord on Star Wars.
Well, I thought it was the same guy.
Me,
yeah. No, I mean, they put in this humble-looking, you know, guy that washes people's feet, and he's all good, and people just melt at any word. He'll say, like, one word, hello, and everyone's like, oh, he said it so beautifully. Right. So something's suspicious about that. Yeah. The fact that, and every documentary on Francis is just so, you know, just overwhelmingly just, you know, complimentary of what he's doing. Yeah. But we know about Jesuits.
But where does that come from?
Exactly.
It's a source.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting to kind of go through, you know, the last couple popes and stuff. And maybe now, with that being said, we know all this stuff is going on. We know that there's probably money laundering. There's child trafficking. This has been going on for a long time. So it's not like it's just now we know about it because of information internet. Yeah.
Absolutely. And because people are singing.
People are singing,
you
and
they're coming out. They're saying, "Listen, I this is just not right. I can't do this anymore."
When you're confronted, it's kind of like, "Oh, well, am I going to save myself or go down with the ship?" But no doubt, secret knowledge hidden from humanity. Why? It's the big question. But maybe it's to control us. Where does the truth lie with all this? And then
truth lie. Yeah,
the truth lie. Oh, yes. How clever am I? So, but a lot of this secrets and hidden stuff is there, physically there. I mean, it's buried. I mean, underground, I hear that there's a vast library. And then also we can talk about the Vatican audience hall, which is kind of interesting to see.
Yeah,
so,
I'll let you do
what do you
that.
want to...
but underground, I mean, the archives.
What do you think's there?
Oh, my God, everything. And including, I think, you know, when Rome went after the Library of Alexandria in Egypt and burned it to the crisp, I think that they took away a lot of stuff with them. Who would, in their right mind, or in their wrong mind, destroy such a vast wealth of accumulated doctrines, documents, knowledge, and not? It's like, you don't burn down a bank and not reach in and grab a couple $100 bills. You know what I mean? You have to consider that some of that stuff had to end up going back to Rome. We know the Templars took it to Rome for a time, and ultimately, nobody's allowed under there.
Well, no doubt there are ancient books. Yeah, books, texts. You know, whether they were
parchments, or whatever they are, scrolls. Yeah.
And maybe some of this is fiction, but I have no doubt probably most of the library is all nonfiction. Yep. It could be books of philosophers, religious people, could be scientists. Yep. just anything, but we don't know.
Yeah.
Because there's no card catalog to
No, there isn't, but they know something. They know that, for example, they know the correlation between modern-day Catholicism and astrotheology and the alignment of the stars and how everything just plays into all of that.
There's a UFO connection
There
to the
is,
Vatican, too,
yeah.
and don't they own some
They
telescopes
own
or something?
they're the largest owners of telescopes.
Why?
In the world.
Ask yourself that question. Why would that be?
They're looking out there for
Mm-hmm.
what they know is perhaps answers.
Right. Well, definitely there's answers out there.
And perhaps other life, because we know we can't be alone.
Well, if there's other life,
Then there's other...
that kind of counters a lot of what they stand for. But
Right.
even if there isn't other life, maybe there's still manipulation in our true origin.
Yeah. Because
this is
it's quite possible, and you and I have touched on this before, but it's quite possible that we're not from here. And it's quite possible that they know that.
right.
And they don't want us to know that. and you know, the power that they have to control. So I mean, okay, you see a news article and there's like thousands of children have come forth with, you know, accusations of having been fondled or sexually abused or whatever.
Right.
Thousands, right? Yet where are the ramifications?
Nothing.
There's never any ramification.
Well, and that's where I think that, like Pope Francis,
Yeah.
He's acquitted some people, so that's suspicious. People that
Sure.
have been found
Yeah.
guilty,
Yeah.
and you think they're headed maybe to jail, but,
But
no,
there's
you're pardoned.
Yeah, it's almost like they just have carte blanche. You know, for God's sake, sorry, pardon the pun, but you know, Chick-fil-A plays Christian music, and all of a sudden everybody wants to, you know, stop eating at Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
You know,
Yeah.
well, stop going where people abuse children. It's frightening. It really is. And these are not just current affairs. These are things that have been going on for a very long time. I mean, I went to Catholic high school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so you look and see, I got a great education at that school. There's no doubt, and I met some really amazing priests at the school. But to be honest with you, some left. They just couldn't play the game anymore. They couldn't remain celibate. Part of the rules. They wanted to have a family. They wanted to have kids. They wanted to do all these things, and they're not allowed to.
Yeah, which probably breeds that alternate behavior.
Right.
Again,
Well, it must have
the
something to do with it.
Yeah, and it really, I mean, if you look at the Bible and you look at a lot of this behavior, obviously is shunned on, and it, as it should be.
Yep.
Because it's kind of away from, you know, our natural core as far as, you know. I mean,
Yeah, you know, and we
to abuse or take advantage of another person,
exactly,
especially a child, is just
and I keep going back to the astrotheology thing and the telescopes that we talked about. Now, this is interesting. St. Paul writes, okay, this is from the Bible,
right.
Colossians 1:25. The mystery which hath been hid from ages and from generations, but now is made manifest to his saints, to whom God would make known what is the riches of the glory of this mystery among the Gentiles, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. So this divine cosmic truth was never meant to be literalized as it has today with one human being, limiting ancient wisdom to one person, excluding the entirety of the human race, as was forged by the Roman Church into the Jesus story, but rather that this original ancient cosmic allegory of the incarnated divine mind, which the Greeks called the logos, okay, that's the archetype, and this Christ consciousness was to be applied to every human being on earth, and not just to one person, who the First Council of Nicaea in 325 gave the name Jesus Christ. Jesus even said, "You will do greater things than I."
Right.
It's in the Bible, okay? When you look at so many times, for example, Jesus says, you know, why do you call me good? There's no one is good but the Father, right? So he says, I do nothing without my Father. And we know the Father is that source of origin of all life and all knowledge, everything, right? So when you look at this, the Catholic Church has taken a truth for all people and usurped it.
Yes.
Created their own story around it. I'm not saying it's false. I'm not saying it's fake. I'm saying it's been altered. Okay? And taken away the power inherent within all of us.
Right.
That divine spark of God, because we all came from the same source. All of us.
They're capturing energy.
Yes.
And through our consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And this has a veil on us. We're unable to maybe truly be or aspire and become who we really are because of all this negative, inverted kind of energy that's going on. And that's why some people say, hey, the Vatican, the Pope, all of this is really, it's not for our good. It's actually to hold us back.
Yeah, and Rome never
and
died.
You would never think that again. And more evidence of that is, let's go to the Pope's audience hall, because what's associated with Satan? Serpents, snakes. Okay,
those kinds of things. Yeah.
So there's this modern,
and there's also the symbology of it too.
Sure. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Adam and Eve.
Symbology.
Yeah. Well, of course.
Sure.
That goes way back.
The snake eating its tail, which is eternity.
Right.
There's so much symbology.
But the building's not shaped like a puppy.
No, it's not. No, not at all.
But
and it's blatant.
It's blatant. So this is not subtle. So what we suggest is, if you're unfamiliar with the Pope's audience hall, just Google that. Google the images, and if you've never seen it before, you're in for a big surprise.
Yeah, we didn't draw it. We didn't draw it.
We don't know, why the architect did this. It couldn't happen just by accident, but literally the stage of this audience hall has these two big eyes, and then there's a mouth in the middle, and it looks just like you're looking at a snake. And then even from the exterior of the building, it's got that the whole part of the building kind of looks like a head, snake head.
Right.
There's no two ways to explain it. I mean, it is what it is. So why is this doing this? And again, it could be it's stealing energy. It's so if you go there, you think you're going there for to hear something beautiful or be enlightened, and at the same time you're going to walk out of there feeling like
drained.
Drained and confused.
Yeah.
And
believe you should feel that way.
Well,
which is an illusion.
It is. It's all part of it.
And this whole serpent myth thing was critical in the Egyptian myth cycle when you go back to ancient Egypt. In fact, after Ra, Amen-Ra, the god of who spoke the world into creation, after Ra created all things, Isis, and we go back to Egypt for this, the goddess of magic, tricked him by creating a serpent that ambushed Ra on his daily journey across the heavens. So the serpent actually bit Ra, who was powerless to undo the poison. See, Isis announced that she could heal Ra from the poison and destroy the serpent, but would only do so if Ra revealed his true name as payment. So by learning his true name, Isis was able to gain power over Ra. This is the
There's
type
a lot
of mythology that it's coming from. I mean, in Ireland, there's the St. Patrick thing. That has, serpentology attached to it, okay, if that's the right word to use. Moses held up the serpent, the snake, the serpent on the stick on his, not cane, but lack of a better word, when he struck the rock. And, today we see the staff. Thank you. And today we see the two serpents intertwined on the caduceus.
Sure.
Which
is
show
a sign of medicine.
Right? So it clearly has symbolism all over the place.
Yeah. And modern medicine has some work to be done.
Yeah. We're going to do a show on that.
Oh, geez. Yeah. But I'll tell you, just to finish up with this, I've never been there, as I indicated, but people that have been to this building, to the Pope's audience hall, say that it is very eerie.
Yeah.
And this negative energy that the Vatican and all its tentacles put out, it's kind of fear-based, but it steals our individual spirituality, where everyone thinks. Now, a lot of people see the Pope and they feel good. Oh, he's beautiful. He touched me and I feel better and all this. Mm-hmm. Well, hey, that's maybe a placebo effect.
Yeah, or
there's nothing real there.
Exoteric.
But those of us that really can feel this and see it, it feels creepy.
Yeah.
All of it. Like I said, from the robes to the inverted crosses to the ritualistic to the snake head hall, and just everything, and then everything being hidden, and then you hear about the corruption and all this stuff. It's like,
remember
what
also
the heck
that
is going on here?
that the snake in ancient times among many people was also a representative of fertility and masculine power, much like a steeple on a church is the masculine.
I kind of get the point.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
but
okay.
I don't need to further the point.
No, it's pretty clear.
And the obelisks in Egypt and all that stuff. This is the
and there's three obelisks. There's one obelisk in the
London
Vatican
and D.C.
And by the one from the Vatican was brought
came from Egypt.
Yeah. So
all
why?
they did was screw a cross on top of it.
Okay, so the Vatican has an obelisk from Egypt, and our money has the pyramid from Egypt. Okay, so connection, connect the dots. There's just lots there. I guess at the end, as far as this goes, you know how like this energy can change your DNA. It literally changes your DNA.
Absolutely.
So it's holding us back. We're not able to aspire, and we never will until the whole veil has been cast aside, and truth of who we really are and why this is all going on comes to light.
Yep.
And somehow I feel like, I know it's a big, bold statement, but it's supposed to happen within our lifetime. Because everyone says, it's never going to happen. But
I'm starting to believe that more and more. And,
it's coming.
Not to shortchange what's going on over at Vatican City, but to be honest with you, they know the truth.
They do.
They know it all. Way more than we do.
Oh, of course.
It's there.
It's never brought up in conversation, and they don't have like White House news conferences with the Pope.
Right. So they know the
Can't
truth.
ask them anything.
So imagine this. Imagine if they actually stepped forward and revealed the truth.
Who? Them?
Them.
The
Vatican
Pope just gets out there and
just
goes,
swings the window open
we messed
one day.
up.
Yeah. Swings the window open one day and says, listen, guys, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. I have to return the power to you.
I don't know. I think people are trying, but
imagine what would happen to the Vatican and to the Roman Catholic system. It would grow exponentially by revealing the truth.
But there's something very telling here.
What is that?
Because recently, the Pope would never be very political. But lately, this guy Francis has been overstepping that and telling us here in America what to do.
Yeah.
Let the immigrants come in. Do this, do that. Really, if you look at it, he's aligning himself with the global New World Order people.
Yeah.
It's the same narrative. And again, if you research this, and this is not a conspiracy, New World Order, globalists, they want to chip, they want to track and tax you.
Yep.
And they want to know everything about you, and they don't want anybody fighting against them or thinking, alternatively.
Right.
So this is a cast all over us, all over humanity, and they have you by the, by the Bible, so to speak.
Yeah. And remember also his opinions of what's going on, for example, with the border and things like that, and all of that.
He's gotten political.
These folks
not supposed to be.
that want to come in to America, are Catholic.
Yes.
I mean, they were conquered a long time ago.
And they actually traveled through another country that was of Latin origin
which
too.
Is Catholic.
Which is Catholic, and these are their brothers. Yet they don't want them either. So I don't know. That's but there's mass migration that's gone on in Europe, and also now we're dealing with it here in America, and the Pope's just like let everyone go where they want. If they're seeking asylum, a better life, and everything. He's got a wall around his house. The guy with a wall around his house. Yeah. Other guys have put walls around their house too here in Washington.
Oh yeah.
But I'm not going to mention his name.
Yeah, let's not.
But it's the ultimate hypocrisy. Yeah. So this is what we point out here on the show.
Yeah, and by the way,
hypocrisy, because it's so easy.
Yeah, when you go and you see the wall and all of that stuff over there, just because the Swiss police look like the Joker in a deck of cards. These guys don't play around.
No.
These guys are highly trained.
By the way,
and they are that. If anybody thinks they're going to infiltrate Vatican City, they got another thing coming.
No, I'm sure they have their own force. I'm sure. I have no doubt that there's a guy packing heat there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, you're not just going to run in and he's going to go, stop.
Right.
Hey, you're not allowed to cross this barrier,
Yeah.
No, I think you're probably met with some force.
Yeah.
You've never heard of anything ever happening.
But you never will.
And you never will, because even if probably stuff happens all the time and it just never makes the news, and that's for good reason.
Yeah, it's
because they're one-on-one with the news.
Yeah,
people.
it's like silly to bring this up now, but it's like Disney. I mean, Disney World is its own entity, and its own government and its own police and its own everything. So whatever happens within Disney World stays there.
I know what Disney is now, but when you used to go there, it was fun.
Sure.
And they do a great job. I mean, they
hire
hire some of the best people.
Yeah.
So if you work in association with Disney, I mean, it is a wonderful vacation stuff. Yeah. But behind it all, Walt Disney, the 33 Club, everything else.
Yeah.
Walt Disney was never married, and he liked children. So let's just leave it at that.
Close proximity to Canaveral.
Exactly,
His fascination with death.
Right.
Yeah, so it's an interesting thing. But back to the Vatican.
Well, I want to bring up, actually, it's related to that. It's a little tangential, but I think it's apropos. Okay. Club of Rome. Have you ever heard of this?
No, you got me on this one.
Okay. So Club of Rome was founded in 1968. It's a Rockefeller UN. It's a political base with diplomats and scientists and economists and even some philosophers. And the whole premise of the Club of Rome, which if you really look at what they do, especially nowadays, it's quite evil.
Yeah.
But the premise was to limit growth.
Okay.
Growth of certain populations here on Earth. Okay.
Georgia Guidestones kind of stuff.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then they had to move out of Rome. I think they moved to Switzerland at this point in like 2008. But it's basically a political think group that and they themselves are very aligned with the Vatican, which is kind of scary because you don't hear, the papal talk about,
Club of Rome,
or depopulation or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
or Opus Dei, or the Jesuits, or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're interfering into the U.S. They're talking, and at the Club of Rome too is 1-1. They're saying, hey, what's with these borders and everything else? But they're also a huge proponent of climate change discussion. It used to be global warming. I guess that didn't cover it all. Yeah. So now the climate supposedly.
It's just sort of another Bilderberger kind of.
Yeah.
Thing.
But this is heavy hitters, and I'm just telling you, it's called the Club of Rome.
Okay.
So that's the connection to the Vatican. At any rate, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of bad actors that right now are thinking, wow, a lot of this is being exposed. So I think we're coming to a pivotal time where things can shift, and the only thing that'll really expose these people is truth and getting it out there. Yeah, because obviously they've been caught red-handed doing this, that, and this, and we know this and that, and nothing ever happens. Yeah, it just continues.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and there's no ramifications.
No, there's no accountability or anything like that because it's the Pope. How dare you accuse or point your finger at the Pope?
Right.
It's almost the best front you could ever ask for.
Yeah.
It's not too dissimilar than Zionism. I hate to go there, but again, Zionism,
that's a whole show too.
Yeah, that's a whole. Yeah, but I mean, it's the same coin, but it's the flip side of the coin. But it's all the coin in that. They have the, if you point your finger or expose anything Zionism or Zionistic, you say, oh, that's anti-Semitic. But that's not true. Yeah. Because Zionism is the belief in the Jewish state, and they push their agenda too. Yeah. If you don't think that there's a correlation, then dig deep. And we can only connect the dots superficially here. Yeah. We don't want to get in too much trouble.
Yeah. Well, just remember at the end, the wizard hops on his balloon and leaves. So,
yeah, just scot free.
Yep,
floats away.
See ya.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what may be in the future for a lot of folks. Just
Right.
see ya, and they'll strike some deal, and just walk away from it all.
Right.
I
guess if you, in a summary, it's take it at face value, or dig a little bit deeper and realize, again, there's an agenda here.
Yeah.
I hate to use that term, but they're trying to affect human consciousness on a grand scale.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Rome never died. It just changed its name.
Yeah.
You see, and so now with the power of the Vatican,
well, you say it changed its name, it's still Rome.
Yeah, it's still Rome. Yeah, but with the power,
Rome,
the ability
if you want
of power. Yeah. Thank you. Great song.
Yeah.
With the power that they do have in their hands, if you go back to the early days of Christianity and you go back to Rome and Constantine and the Council of Nicaea and 325 AD and all that stuff, and you look at the concept behind what it was really meant to do, it was meant to just unify his country, his people. When Constantine was faced with all these different religions, all these people following all this, the empire was falling apart. He wanted a state religion. The word Catholic comes from the Greek word katholiko, which literally means universal. So he wanted a Holy Roman universal church for the whole empire. So his idea was, let's just take a little piece of this and a little piece of that and a little piece of this and a little piece of that and some Krishna from here and some Mithra from there and some Dionysus from here and come up with this
buffet of
come up with this religion for all the people to unite the empire and have less of a problem, less wars, less of that stuff.
Right.
And I think that the basic concept behind it all is understandable. It's just that it's grown out of control.
Right. And as I kind of observe it, I always kind of sit back and observe the whole big picture. So my big picture thought is this. You could, if you follow the church and you believe this gives you substance to your life and it makes you feel good and warm and you think it makes you, a good person and everything else, there might not be anything wrong with that. Yeah. But you may not need it. Just remember, all of it, every bit of it, was man-made.
Everything.
Yeah. All the religion, the buildings, the money, the wealth, everything that you can touch that they have there. It's all man-made.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that a relationship with God is greater than that.
Yeah. Look more for the temple not built with
reaches
hands.
Reaches to the highest power of and connectivity.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing. And you can share that and be with that anywhere. Doesn't matter. Wherever you go, there you are.
Yep.
So don't forget that, because it doesn't matter. You don't have to go to the Vatican. You don't have to be in a certain place to really experience the oneness of all this and the beauty of it all.
Yep.
So we probably were not very. We probably didn't handle it in a very unbiased way, but there's a lot of discussion points, and we probably only touched on maybe 20-25% of the stuff. But you can only say so much and do so much. But do your own. If you care about this subject, and you want to know more, it's out there.
Yep.
Just
everywhere.
Yeah, just be careful what you step in sometimes.
Yeah, and also let it play against your spirit, and the God within will tell you if it's real or if it isn't.
Right. You have any last thoughts?
Or any cardinal rules other than, listen, the number one thing that makes the whole world go round is love. We've talked about this before. So whether you follow Catholicism and the works of the Vatican, or Episcopal, whether you're Episcopal or Orthodox or whatever it might be, okay, or you have a lifestyle of Judaism or whatever it is, always know that love keeps the whole thing going. And there is no other. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe they should put a heart on his chair.
Yeah.
Instead of an upside down
Yeah.
cross.
Well,
or
and
something
also,
like that.
Peter supposedly was crucified upside down. So there's a direct correlation there because, this is the church that Peter built and all that stuff. That Peter built. Nice truck company.
Peterbilt.
So I guess what I'm saying in closing is that once we all come to the truth that we are really all just one, okay? And all of these labels that we've come up with religions and colors
you're
and
this,
races,
you're that,
you're this.
yeah.
It's just crap. It's just labels.
Well, okay. I don't want to insult. I don't want to be, a lot of people out there, like their religion and they feel like they get a lot from it.
The labels are crap.
But I think what we're saying is there's a level, there's a layer above all of this.
Yeah.
Where we are all one.
Yep.
You can pick whatever you want. You can choose whatever you want. That's the beautiful thing about living on this world.
Yep.
For the most part, at least here in America, we feel like we have more freedoms.
Yeah.
But freedom to choose and experience whatever religion we want.
Absolutely.
And have beliefs.
Absolutely.
And you should not be held back because of that.
No.
And don't hold other people back because, in essence, you'll be holding yourself back.
Just don't hurt anybody.
That's what your mother told you when you were 5.
Yeah, and it's
don't
still
hit
true
Jimmy.
Today. Yeah, just
because Jimmy's bigger than you.
Yeah, just consider everybody else,
Right.
and consider the fact that that what we do to other, we do to ourselves.
Right. I guess that's a good place to leave it. I mean, we said enough about the Vatican and the Pope, and hopefully, there's been information that's new to you, and if it's not, then you've heard it, and maybe you've heard it again, and just reinforces that there is truth out there, and that's what we always try to seek.
That's it. Thank you, sir.
It's been a pleasure.
You've been listening to Quantum Flow Radio. Email us online at quantumflowradio@gmail.com.